distance vector routing, that is count to infinity problem, and we have also discussed what is link state routing. So is there anyone who can explain me what is distance vector routing and what is link state routing? Now the next point, the next topic is types of routing, and we will go through with the types of routing very quickly, because only the important thing is you should have the idea about the types of routing. That's why we will not go into the depth, because I have to cover congestion control algorithm, as well as I have to cover some important points in the network layer. Okay, right now I am discussing network layer chapter. So in the network layer chapter, the next topic is hierarchical routing, or the types of routing. So we'll begin with the hierarchical routing, and then we will discuss the congestion control mechanism. Okay, how you can handle the network traffic, how to handle the congestion. Congestion is it is nothing but it is a network traffic. How you can deal with the network traffic, how individual node can deal with the network traffic, that is known as network congestion. So now I think we should not wait for others to join, otherwise again we will not be in a position to complete this chapter. So let me start the discussion about the hierarchical routing. So I will show you the routing table directly so that you can learn. Up till now we have discussed static routing, dynamic routing, we have discussed distance vector routing and link state routing. Okay, now the next point is hierarchical routing. Right now we are discussing network layer chapter. In the network layer chapter, network layer deals with routing, so we should have the idea about types of routing. So the hierarchical routing is the routing in which you can see routers nodes are divided into region, router 1A, router 1B, router 1C, region 1, region 2, region 3, region 4 and region 5. Now for individual router, if you consider router 1A, then router 1A, it will create the routing table. It will create the routing table as it is available on your screen. So if router 1A wants to reach at router 1B, then the number of hop are only one, like it has to traverse through only one link. If router 1A wants to reach at 1C, then only one hop. If router 1A wants to reach at 2A, then it has to traverse through 1B, and the numbers of hops are 2. So hierarchical routing, final table for hierarchical routing is, if it wants to reach at 1A, 1B, 1C, then line and hop, these two fields are available in the table. Now if the router 1A wants to reach at region 2, if the router 1A wants to reach at region 3, 4 and 5, then what should be the next hop, and how many numbers of hops, how many links are required to be traversed. Okay, that is what is indicated on the screen. So this is hierarchical routing. In hierarchical routing, you have to remember only one thing, and that is, just a minute, let me start the recording. Let me start the recording so that later on you can refer. See, we will go through with all the types of routing very quickly. So I request all of you to please pay attention and please listen carefully. Okay, otherwise you won't be able to learn. Yes, any input? Yes, any suggestion? If you have, you can share. We will go through with the types of routing very quickly, because I have to cover some other important points. Okay, recording is started now. Please focus, please concentrate on the screen only. So today I have started this session with hierarchical routing. In hierarchical routing, the important point is all the devices are divided into region 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now for every individual router, whether it is router 1A, 1B, 1C, every router has to manage the routing table, and that routing table contains 3 entries, 3 fields: destination, line, and hop. Line is the next hop, and hop, it means numbers of links which are required to be traversed. So let me provide you one example, then you will be able to learn. Focus on table number 2, okay, the rightmost table on your screen. If 1A wants to reach at region 2, then the next hop should be 1B, and the numbers of hops, numbers of links which are required to be traversed to reach at region 2 is 2. Okay, value is 2, cost is 2. So this is how, or these are the, or this is the method which is followed by hierarchical routing. The routing table, yes. Please feel free to ask me the question if you have. Okay, this is hierarchical routing. Then the next is a broadcast routing, in which every node will send a routing table to all other routers, and by sending the broadcast packet, by sending the broadcast message, routing table can be created. That is known as broadcast routing, because you have to fetch, you have to consider the name of the routing, and based on that you can able to explain. Broadcast routing, it means one to all communication. Now reverse path forwarding. In reverse path forwarding, you can see network topology, the leftmost topology. Focus on the leftmost topology. You have topology, then you have to create the sync tree. It means you have to consider any node like node I. Focus on node I, and with respect to node I, you have to eliminate duplicate route, you have to eliminate the duplicate path, and you have to make sure that from I you should be able to reach at every node. Okay, you should be able to reach at every node. So you can create the sync tree for I, and then you can create, you can construct the you can construct the tree for router I. And if you focus on the rightmost structure, tree structure, then this is known as reverse path forwarding. It means by focusing individual node like node I, you should have to provide the option like, if node I wants to reach at node H, if node I wants to reach at node B or L, then what are the possible ways? But you have to remember that all the duplicate paths should be eliminated, and after eliminating the duplicate path, you can create the tree, and this tree is required for the reverse path forwarding. In multicast routing, one-to-many routing, it is known as one-to-many routing. So multicast routing, in multicast routing, one node will send data to a group. One node will send data to multiple node, and this is known as multipath or multicast routing. Okay, this is multicast routing. Routing for mobile host, it means if you consider the wireless network, if you consider the wireless network, then in wireless network, you all know very well mobile host. Okay, you can consider the case of your mobile phone. So mobile host supports mobility, or mobile host can move from one place to another place. So how we can support the routing for the mobile host? How we can support the routing for the wireless node that is indicated in the routing for mobile host? So in routing for mobile host, three different types of hosts are available. Stationary host, it means the host which remains at the fixed place. Migratory host, it means the host which can change the network. And the third type of host is a roaming or mobile host. So if the host changes the place, okay, if it visits different places, then that is known as a roaming or mobile host. In a routing for mobile host, please go please concentrate on your screen. Mobile host is there. Every mobile host belongs to home agent, okay, home network. And then if that host changes its location, then it will be connected with the foreign agent or foreign network. So mobile host, home agent, and foreign agent, it means, listen me carefully so that it will be clear to you what is routing for mobile host. If you have purchased the SIM card, if you have purchased the SIM card from the state of Gujarat, then we can say that the SIM card which you are using in your phone, for that particular SIM card, home network is Gujarat and home agent is located in Gujarat. So your mobile phone, it will remain connected with the home agent, which is a part of the home network. Okay, home network is Gujarat. But whenever you visit some other state, like whenever you will be there in the Maharashtra state, at that time, your origin is Gujarat. Okay, SIM card belongs to Gujarat, but you have visited Maharashtra. So Maharashtra network is known as a foreign network for you. And in foreign network, if you change your location from Gujarat to Maharashtra, then connectivity should be there. Connectivity should remain as it is. Connectivity should be provided. And to provide the connectivity now in Maharashtra network, in the state of Maharashtra, foreign network or foreign network has foreign agent, and that foreign agent will look after the connection. That foreign agent will provide you the connectivity, because now you have changed your location from Gujarat to Maharashtra, and that is known as routing for mobile host. So mobile host can move, and if the mobile host moves, then it is possible that mobile host can change the network from home network to foreign network. Foreign network is a Maharashtra network, home network is a Gujarat network. So through foreign agent, connectivity should be provided, and that is what is indicated in the routing for mobile host. So steps are indicated. Now the next case is the routing in ad hoc network. Ad hoc network, it means the network, wireless network which is created for temporary duration. The wireless network which is created for temporary duration, that is known as ad hoc network. So if you consider the case of Wi-Fi network, then Wi-Fi network can be considered as an ad hoc network, because you can connect your laptop with hotspot. You can connect your mobile phone with WLAN hotspot, but that network will not remain forever. Okay, that is a temporary network which you have created. Temporary you have connected your phone with the hotspot. Temporary you have connected your mobile phone or your laptop with hotspot. So ad hoc network, it means the network which is created on demand is known as ad hoc network. And one important thing which you have to remember, generally in ad hoc network, the protocol which supports routing, it is known as AODV protocol. You have to remember the name of this protocol, AODV. AODV stands for ad hoc on demand distance vector routing protocol. Now I have one question in my mind, and that question is, if you consider, please listen me carefully. See, I am aware with the fact that I have covered the topic like hierarchical routing, broadcast routing, multicast routing, then routing for mobile host, and then routing for ad hoc network very fast. Okay, I have covered all these topic very quickly, because I have to cover some important topic like the congestion control in a network layer. See, the question is routing in wired network and routing in wireless network. We have seen two different types of wireless network. One is routing for mobile host, and second is routing for ad hoc network. So routing for mobile host and routing for ad hoc network, if you consider, then it is routing for wireless network. And the previous case, the case which we have discussed about hierarchical routing, distance vector, link state, all these are the cases of wired routing. So this question can be asked in the exam, and you can write this question in your notebook. Routing for wireless network and routing for wired network. What are your thoughts on routing for wired network and routing for wireless network? Question number 1. What are your thoughts on routing for wired network and routing for wireless network? And second important question which can be asked is, why it is very difficult to achieve routing in wireless network? Why it is difficult to implement routing for wireless network. In wireless network, why it is challenging to implement the routing? So do you have any answer available for these two questions? Routing for wired network and routing for wireless network. And then routing, why it is very difficult to implement routing for wireless network, wireless topology. So please provide me your input for this. Routing for mobile host, it means your mobile phone you have to consider. And I have said, I have shared this information. SIM card which is purchased from Gujarat, for that particular SIM card, home network is Gujarat. If you visit Maharashtra, then your foreign network will be Maharashtra. In home network, the assistant provided by the component for the connectivity, it is home agent. Home agent provides you support to connect yourself with the home network. But whenever you will be there in the foreign network like Maharashtra, foreign agent, it means some sort of devices are there, some sort of network is there. That network will help you to remain connected in the foreign network, and that component is foreign agent. So routing for mobile host is a different case, and routing for ad hoc network is a different case. Routing for ad hoc network, it means, listen me carefully. You have connected your laptop in Wi-Fi network in the DevStar building. Okay, you are at the DevStar and you are in the DevStar building. So in DevStar college, you have connected your laptop with the hotspot which is nearer to you. You have connected your laptop with the wireless access point, wireless router which is nearer to you. You are there in the DevStar building and connectivity is provided. Now, whenever you move your laptop from DevStar to CSPIT, whenever you move your laptop from DevStar to nursing building or physiotherapy building or pharmacy building, at that time, what do you think connectivity will be provided by Wincell department or not? Same way, consider the case of your mobile phone. In your mobile phone, you have a SIM card, valid SIM card, registered SIM card. Right now, you are the part of your home network only. Okay, you have purchased the SIM card from Gujarat and you are in Gujarat. You are using your SIM card, you are there in the home network. Whenever you move from Gujarat to Maharashtra or Gujarat to some other state, at that time, the event which is generated, if like the event of changing the network from home network to foreign network, is known as what? It is known as what? If you change the home network and if you will be there in the foreign network, then that event is known as what? That event is known as handover. 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 Okay, technical name is handover. HANDOVER, handover. But we used to consider it as roaming. Okay, we used to consider it as roaming. Changing the home network from Gujarat and being there in the foreign network like Maharashtra, this is known as handover or roaming. So we all know very well, roaming is supported by the SIM card provider. Generally, all the networks are supporting roaming. So if you change the network from home network to foreign network, connectivity will be there, connectivity will be provided because roaming support is there. But in the case of Wi-Fi, where we are considering Wi-Fi as an ad hoc network, okay, I have turn on the laptop. I am available in the DevStar building. I have enabled the Wi-Fi in my laptop and I am searching for the hotspot in DevStar. I have found the hotspot and I am trying to connect my laptop with the hotspot or wireless router, and soon I will find the connectivity. So I have created the network for temporary duration. Laptop accessing Wi-Fi network, that connection will not be available forever. Okay, so it is an ad hoc network. If I change the laptop, if I change the location of my laptop from DevStar to nursing or DevStar to CSPIT or DevStar to pharmacy college, I'm talking about the case of Charusat campus network. Okay, you have to consider, you have to keep Charusat campus in your mind and think about this. If the laptop is changing the place, if the notebook is changing the place from DevStar to other building, what do you think connectivity will be provided or not? In every building or across our campus, multiple wireless routers are there available because our campus is the Wi-Fi campus. Wi-Fi internet is provided, Wi-Fi internet is supported. But what do you think whenever you change your place from DevStar to other college, connectivity will be provided or not? Please answer this. Who will explain me whether the connectivity will be provided in Wi-Fi network by default automatically? You can consider the case of your wireless broadband internet connection. Okay, you have, if you assume that you have wireless router available at your home, if the wireless router is properly working, you can enable WLAN in your phone. You can connect your phone with the Wi-Fi router which is available at your home. Now Wi-Fi is on, WLAN is on, it is available on your phone, it is working. Now if you are changing your location from your home to another society or another building or another place where the Wi-Fi routers are also available, so what do you think, you will remain connected or not? Will you remain connected? Yes or no? By default, Wi-Fi or wireless LAN, it does not support handover. It does not support roaming. Wireless LAN does not support roaming. So if you are working in DevStar, if you are connected with the wireless router available in DevStar, and if you move your laptop or notebook from DevStar to any other college, I'm talking about the Charusat campus network, then in that particular case you have to reconnect your laptop, you have to reconnect your device with the wireless router which is available in the destination network. If you are there in pharmacy college, you have to reconnect your laptop with the wireless router which is available in pharmacy. So wireless LAN, WLAN does not support handover or roaming by default. And to support the handover in wireless LAN, network administrator should follow appropriate mechanism. Okay, appropriate mechanism should be followed, otherwise wireless LAN does not support handover or roaming. Now the most important question, and this question can be asked in the exam, and generally I have asked this question at least 3 times or 4 times in the university exam, and that question is why it is very difficult to implement routing in wireless network. So straightforward answer is not available in the PPT, straightforward answer is not available in the textbook, but you have to think why it is a challenging task to implement routing in wireless network. Why it is challenging? Because in wireless network, mobility is supported, devices are moving, and if the devices are moving, then in that particular case, it is very difficult to create the routing table for the network which is continuously changing the topology. If the network is continuously changing the topology, then it is very difficult to create the routing table in the router, because it is possible that with router A, your laptop is connected. After some time, your laptop is connected with router B or C, and with router A, some new devices are connected. So router is not able to predict, and router is not able to judge like what will be the, or what are the devices which will remain connected with that particular router. So it is very difficult to implement routing in wireless network. If you have any question, any query up to this, then you can ask me. See the top points like route discovery in ad hoc network. How the route is discovered in ad hoc network. So in ad hoc network, devices are always focusing on the nearby devices, and only nearby devices or the devices which are there in the range, those devices will be communicated by sending the packet. The packet is available on your screen. So route request message is sent and then route reply message is received. This is about ad hoc network, routing for ad hoc network. And as I said earlier, you can see device A is in the range of device B and D. So A will communicate with B and D by sending the request message, and B and D will send reply. And this is only the way by which routers can be able to create the routing table in ad hoc network. So route request message and route reply message formats are available on your screen. And route maintenance is also important task, but you don't need to prepare this. Okay, but please remember, route maintenance is the most important aspect in wireless network, because in wireless network topology is continuously changing, devices are continuously moving, devices are changing their location, so route maintenance is important. So any question, any query up to this? If you have any question, you can ask me. If you don't have any question, then I can discuss the next topic that is network or congestion, that is congestion control. Yes, any question, any query?
No, sir.
Okay. See, network traffic and network congestion. With respect to the topology which is available on your screen, please listen me carefully. The topology which is available on this screen, in that particular topology, you can see router A is connected with router B, A is connected with router D, and in our topology, 8 routers are there: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Now for this topology, for this particular topology, network traffic and network congestion. Can you differentiate these two words, network traffic and network congestion? When we can say that network traffic is high in this topology, and when we can say that network congestion is high in this topology? Please write this in your notebook: network traffic and network congestion. Focus on the topology which is available on your screen. This is a sample topology. Okay, actually this topology is related with the topic that is route maintenance, but we can consider this topology to learn network traffic and network congestion. So can you please tell me what is the difference between network traffic and network congestion as per your knowledge? 8 routers are there. So when we can say that network traffic is high and when we can say that network congestion is high? If we cannot deal with the network traffic properly, if we cannot deal with the network congestion properly, then the result will be what? Packet drop. Packets will be dropped. If you cannot deal with the network traffic or network congestion properly, then the result will be packet drop. And if the packet drop is there, it means communication will not take place. Fruitful communication will not take place. communication will not be, proper communication will not be established. So network congestion and network traffic. If I say this, please listen me carefully. Network congestion is the part of individual node and network traffic is related with the link, transmission cable, transmission media. Then what is the difference between network traffic and network congestion? Network congestion is the part of individual node A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and network traffic is related with the transmission media cable link between A and B, link between A and D. Links are dealing with the network traffic, and whenever we want to speak something about network traffic, at that time we have to check the capacity of the link, and we have to ensure while sending the packet that link capacity should not be exceeded. If the network speed which is supported at your home, or for the broadband internet connection which you are using, or for the 4G internet connection which you are using in your mobile phone, if the speed which is provided to you is 20 Mbps, it means with whatever the wireless link with which you are connected, that wireless link is able to carry 20 Mbps data only. If you increase the transmission speed, if you increase the numbers of packets which you want to send, at that time packets will be dropped because link capacity is only 20 Mbps, and this is known as network traffic. If the links are able to handle the numbers of packets which are transmitted properly, then we can say that moderate network traffic is there. If the links are ideal, if the transmission media is ideal, then we can say that network traffic is low or zero network traffic is there, because links are free. If the links are facing the more numbers of packets, then we can say that network traffic is high. Okay, so network traffic has to deal with the link, transmission media, but node A, node B, node C, all the routers are managing the buffer, they are managing the queue, they are managing the memory for storing the incoming packet and for forwarding the outgoing packet. So every node has to manage the queue. Node A has queue, node B has queue, node C has queue. Node A is maintaining the buffer. Buffer, it means memory. Node A has some memory. Now, if the memory of node A gets full, if the memory of node B gets full, if no memory is available on router A, router B, or router C, then we can say that router A is heavily congested, router B is heavily congested, and router C is heavily congested because no space available to store the incoming packet. A's buffer is full, B's buffer is full, C's buffer is full, A's memory is full, B's memory is full, C's memory is full. So we can say that A is congested, B is congested, C is congested. So congestion control, it means we have to control the queue, the buffer of individual node, and this is known as congestion control. So if you have any question, any query related with the congestion control, then you can ask me. Focus on the diagram. Focus on the diagram which is available on your screen. If you send the packet, if you consider the ratio of packets which are sent and packets which are received, then up to some extent you can send the numbers of packet n packets, and all n packets will be delivered. But after some time, or after some time duration, some time interval, If you keep on increasing the numbers of packets which are sent, then at that time you will find that due to the congestion, whatever the packets which are sent, those packets will be dropped. And I think you might have realized this in the NS2. If you have used NS2 network simulator, if you have implemented any practical, if you have executed any script on NS2 network simulator, then you might have seen that whenever you start sending the data, after some time you will find that some packets will be dropped. And why those packets are dropped? Because nodes are congested. So you can send the packet and those packets will be delivered up to some extent. If the sender's capacity and receiver's capacity matches, then no packets will be dropped. But if the sender is increasing the numbers of packets which are sent, or if the receiver has limited memory available, then in that particular case packets will be dropped, and we can say that network congestion is there. Now to deal with the congestion, two different types of algorithms are available: open loop algorithm and closed loop algorithm. To deal with the congestion, open loop algorithm and closed loop algorithms are available. Now focus on the points which are available under the open loop algorithm and closed loop algorithm. How to deal with the congestion? Two methods are there. So what is the difference between open loop algorithm and closed loop algorithm? This question can be asked in the exam. So in open loop algorithm, it is a type of preventive algorithm. Open loop algorithm tries to prevent the congestion. In closed loop algorithm, it will allow the congestion to occur. It will allow the congestion to occur in the topology, and then nodes will provide the feedback. Receiver will provide the feedback to sender. Please slow down your transmission. Please stop sending the packet. So based on the feedback, sender will modify the strategy of transmitting the data. That is closed loop. In closed loop congestion control method, feedback will be provided by the receiver. In open loop congestion control algorithm, it will try to follow good design of network and it will try to avoid the congestion. So if the presence of congestion is there, it means that load is greater than the resource can handle. Okay, I have already discussed this. Why the congestion may occur in the network? Because the individual node is not able to deal with the load. The individual node will not be able to deal with the numbers of packets. In that particular case, network congestion will occur. So to avoid the congestion, to prevent from the congestion, transport layer has some mechanisms available. A data link layer, some mechanisms are available, and a network layer, some mechanisms are available to deal with the congestion. Now the first technique is admission control. So once the congestion has been signaled, no more virtual circuits are set up until it has gone away. So admission control mechanism is one of the mechanism which is used for virtual circuit network, and in admission control congestion control technique, if the congestion occurs, then no more virtual circuits will be set up or no more virtual circuits will be created. I think to learn this, let me check whether any proper diagram is available or not. Okay, so admission control mechanism is the congestion control technique in which you have to focus on what? Congestion has been signaled. If the congestion occurs, then no more virtual circuits are set up or no more virtual circuits will be created. Only this point you have to remember. This is admission control. Okay, next mechanism is a choke packet mechanism. Please listen me carefully. We just have to remember how the admission control congestion control mechanism works, how the choke packet congestion control mechanism works. So in choke packet congestion control mechanism, right now we are discussing what, how we can deal with the congestion. Okay, if the congestion is there in the network, then what we can do. So in the choke packet mechanism, router sends a chalk packet back to the source, giving it the destination found in the packet. So see, chalk packet mechanism is the mechanism in which the node who is facing the congestion, that node will send the chalk packet to the source. Okay, assume that you are sending packet to me and I am facing congestion. I am a receiver and you are sender. So I can send you a chalk packet, a special packet. Okay, chalk packet is a special packet. So I can send you the chalk packet because you are the source. And when the source gets chalk packet, it is required to reduce the traffic sent on a specific destination by X%. Okay, whenever I will send you the chalk packet, at that time you will assume that I am facing congestion and you will reduce the transmission rate. This is known as chalk packet mechanism. The next mechanism is load shedding mechanism, in which load shedding is the fancy way of saying that when the routers are being inundated by packets that they cannot handle, they just throw them away. Okay, load shedding. If the routers are facing congestion, then whatever the packets which they will receive, they will immediately drop those packets. This is load shedding mechanism. Random early detection mechanism is there, but we'll discuss it if it is required. Okay, we have to check whether the random early detection mechanism is required to be prepared or not, or whether it is required to be discussed or not. So, network layer in the internet, it will follow some important principles to provide the connectivity. We have already, I think we have discussed the IP protocol. Please acknowledge whether we have discussed IP protocol or not. Yes, this is IP protocol header. If you have not discussed it, this is IPv4 protocol header, and you have to prepare this protocol header, IPv4 protocol header. You all know very well. Network layer appends header. Okay, network layer appends header, and network layer can append IPv4 protocol header or it can append IPv6 protocol header. But generally, the networks which we are using, the network in which we are working, those networks are supporting IPv4 protocol only. So this is IPv4 protocol header. In IPv4 protocol header, these are the field. Version field is there, internet header length field is there, type of service, total length. So these are the fields of IPv4 protocol header. And the description is available. Total length field, it includes the header and data. Maximum length field is there, identification field is there. So this is all about the IPv4 protocol header. So these are the fields of IPv4 protocol header. See, important field is DF and MF. Let me discuss DF field and MF field, don't fragment field and more fragment field. And then I will end this session. And in the next session, we will discuss subnetting. Okay, only one point is left, and that will be discussed very soon. So this is IPv4 protocol header, and in IPv4 protocol header, don't fragment field is there and more fragment field is there. Please listen me carefully. Now, most important discussion I will have about the IP protocol header. So DF field and MF field, you can see don't fragment field is there and more fragment field is there. So DF field, it means don't fragment MF, don't fragment, and MF field, it means more fragment. So what is the purpose of DF field and MF field? Assume that I have created two packets. Okay, I want to transmit character A and character B. Please listen me carefully. I want to transmit character A and character B. I am source and you are destination. So I have sent packet first in which character A is there. I have sent second packet in which character B is there. And then after I don't have any data to send. Please listen me carefully. I want to transmit character A with packet number 1. I want to send character B with packet number 2. So I have created two packets. First packet will have character A, second packet will have character B. So for the first packet, don't fragment field is set to 1 and more fragment field is set to 1. Please tell me your input about this. There are two packets only. Packet number 2 is the last packet. Packet number 2 is the first packet. So in packet 1, don't fragment. Fragment, it means what? Another packet is there or not. It will specify whether the next packet is coming or not. So don't fragment field will set to 1 and more fragment field will set to 1 for packet 1. Yes or no? What will be the value of the don't fragment field for packet 1 and packet 2? Let me add one slide. Packet 1 contains character A and packet 2 will contain character B. Just a minute. Still I have not marked the attendance. I will soon mark the attendance. Packet 2 will contain character B. Packet 1 is the first packet and packet 2 is the last packet. So if packet 2 is the last packet and packet 1 is the first packet, then in packet 1, don't fragment field be what and more fragment field will be what? More fragment field will be 1. Don't fragment field will be 0. And in the last packet, don't fragment field will be 1 and more fragment field will be 0. Because after packet number 2, now no more packets are left. Okay. Transmission is finished. After receiving the packet 2, transmission is finished. So more fragment field will be 0. Don't fragment field and more fragment field, DF field and MF field, they are the 1 bit field. Okay, 1 bit field. So only two options are available in DF and MF, and those two options are either that bit 1 or single bit value can be 0 or 1. So in the last packet, more fragment will be 0 because now no more fragments are left. And in the first packet, more fragment bit is set to 1 because packet first is the first packet. Now still one more packet is left, and that is packet number 2. So I hope that now you have the idea about more fragment and don't fragment field. I request all of you to go through with the IPv4 protocol header. Here the title is missing, but this is IPv4 protocol header. And please prepare about IPv4 protocol header. Please learn about IPv4 protocol header. Learn it by your own. I have discussed the important field, that is don't fragment and more fragment. This question can be asked in the exam. Explain IPv4 protocol header. Okay. So you have to draw this protocol header. You have to explain all the fields. And you have to also explain DF and MF, don't fragment and more fragment. So I request you to search about the DF and MF. I request you to search about IPv4 protocol header and please read the information related with IPv4 protocol header because it is important for the examination point of view. Now in the next session, we will discuss only one topic is left, and that is subnetting. IP address is already known to you. Important topic is subnetting, and if the subnetting is known to you, then we'll skip the discussion of the subnetting because examples of subnetting can be asked in the exam. One IP address will be given to you and you have to calculate some parameters based on the IP address given to you. So let me stop here. Let me mark the attendance first. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, your attendance is marked now. Let me stop sharing this screen and let me stop the recording. Please try to refer the recording later on to learn about the points which we have discussed today. Now IP subnetting is left. So can you please acknowledge whether the subnetting is known to you or not? And then I will end the session. Do you know how to calculate the parameters for subnetting? Please acknowledge. Are you aware about subnetting? Like one IP address will be given to you and then you have to find what will be the first host address, last host address, broadcast address, network address. Please acknowledge whether the subnetting is known to you or not.
Yes, sir. We know about subnetting, but I don't know how to calculate.
Okay, so see to explain you subnetting, we'll go through with one example. I will take one example. I will explain you all the parameters with respect to the IP address which we will take, and then some IP addresses will be given to you for the calculation. You have to solve those IP addresses by your own. So now by conducting one session, I will explain you how to calculate the parameters, different parameters of subnetting. So with this note, let me end the session over here. Thank you very much for joining the session. Now you can leave.